They've already got it on Zoom. I mean, on YouTube.
Good. I thought we were going to go
Shabbat
outside.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Barbara's waiting too, but she's muted. No, they muted themselves again.
$17,000-foot mountain has caused excitement by the supposed discovery of wood. The Justice Department will continue to do all it can to hold accountable.
While, when the year after the election itself,
hear us. Why we cannot hear them?
It's not you. I don't think anybody can hear.
Phone? Okay. All right. We have headphones for those without the program, and large print prayer books are available as well. These are located on the table at the entrance to the sanctuary. We want to create a sacred space that will inspire prayer. Please silence or turn off your phones at this time so that you won't be distracted. We ask that you keep your mask on, covering your nose and mouth the entire time you're in the building. If you're with us on Zoom and you can hear me, please stay muted unless the clergy invites you to unmute and participate. We may be physically separated from one another, but we are one community in prayer and celebration. Before we begin our prayers, I want to share something about my Jewish experience that here on Shabbat just reminds me a little bit of my personal background. I'm sorry, it's a little distracting. Are we good? So my family, my dad emigrated from Germany in 1938, and moved to a little farming community in Windsor, New York. No, that irony is not lost on me. So when I moved to West Windsor, of course, it was Beshert. He lived as a Jewish farm boy from the age of 13 till about 30 in this community of Jewish farmers who lived in this little upstate New York town. At about 30, my family moved into the town of Binghamton, where I was raised. And I have to say, it was a time. It was the 60s in a small town. And there was a lot of anti-Semitism that I faced every day. But I always knew from where my family came from that my Jewish identity was part of who I was. But more than that, the Jewish community that I lived in, small though that it was, in that larger community, still not big, Binghamton, that gave me the strength. That community made me able to face down what I needed to face down at that time, to stand up to the bullies, to deal with the ignorance. And that's what I'm reminded of today. So I walk in here and I'm reminded it is about community. It's about who we are together. And so for me, the Shabbat is particularly important. So now let's move on into the sacredness of Shabbat. Please join us in song and prayer. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. We're going to start on page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malchei Hasharet, Malchei Elyon, Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem Shalom, Malchei Hashalom, Malchei Elyon, Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Al-Chorin Shalom, Malchei Hashalom, Malchei Elyon, Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem L'Shalom, Malchei Hashalom, Malchei Elyon, Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Welcome to everyone who is with us tonight in person, by Zoom, and by YouTube. This Shabbat, the first after the events last Shabbat in Colleyville, Texas, we are filled with many emotions. In that spirit, I have included in our service a series of readings by Alden Solovey that reflect on difficult emotions. These prayers speak to the need to reclaim the gifts hidden in these feelings, a challenge to grow and change, the opportunity to harness them for healing. And one of the many emotions I possess tonight is gratitude. Gratitude to have reached this Shabbat in safety and in health. Gratitude to congregate in our sacred space. Gratitude to celebrate joyful milestone moments in our congregants' lives. It is on that note, then, that I invite up Landon Lewis, who will be called to the Torah tomorrow morning. Thank you in advance for leading Beth Chaim in candles and Kiddush, marking the beginning of a much-needed day of rest. So I'll invite the Cohen-Lewis family to come on up as we turn to pages 2 and 3 in our prayer books. 2 and 3, and Asher, you're the first reader. What? You're gonna read that reading right in your brother's binder.
All right. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offering of their hearts, May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
All right, it's time to light the candles, Ailey. Landon, take it away.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, b'shabbat kodsho, b'chava uvratzon, tenhilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshi, ki hu yom tehila lemikra kodesh, zecher l'tziyah mitzrayim, ki vanu v'chorta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim, l'shabbat kodshecha v'hava uvratzon ken haltanu, baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen. All right, you can take the Kiddush cup, lift it up, pour it into the silver circle. And everybody in your family gets some juice. L'chaim. Landon, also want to be sure we do the blessing at the bottom of page 2 on the right-hand side.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu mitzvotav.
Bitzivanu. Just keep reading. Keep reading. You're good.
L'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. It's okay. It's all good. They say, you know what they say about a dress rehearsal and the big shebang? We're great. We're good and golden. All right, we're going to close out with a reading from your parents on page 8. Page 8 in our prayer books.
We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves.
Now we, in our turn, come into the sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer.
All right, everybody, Mazel Tov. It's a very exciting Shabbat for your family. You can go back to your seats, relax, and enjoy the rest of the service. We're going to turn to page 20 in our prayer books for Lecha Dodi. So grateful that Shabbat, our beloved, has arrived. Page 20.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Shabbat lekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad, ishmiyanu el hameyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, v'shemu tiferet v'nifila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, היווה אורך, קומי אורי, אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Rise and face the entrance.
בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני ים סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
I invite you to turn to each other, greet each other, Shabbat Shalom, right in the chat box. I guess our friends on Zoom, you can unmute. We won't be able to hear you, but you can greet each other, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'll ask everyone to stay standing as they're able as we turn to page 26.
Shalom.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, ועלם עולם מעלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו. לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
Doubt. God of ancient secrets, God of unknown futures, I've been on the mountain and in the valley. I've swum calm waters and was tossed by a raging sea. I've been a person of perfect faith and consumed by impenetrable doubt. I live between moments of clarity and hours of confusion, between daylight and twilight. I live between the heights and the depths, between the calm and the storm, between hesitation and trust. Doubt is a gift. Doubt is a journey. Doubt is a blessing. Holy One, creator of mysteries beyond my grasp, help me to see my doubts as teachers and guides, leading me back to you, your people, and your word. Let my doubt be the gateway to faith, just as confusion is the path to understanding, as night is the doorway to sunlight. Blessed are you, Redeemer of the lost, who created doubt so that we might discover faith. Page 34, the watchword of our faith, Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam, Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated.
Ya lai lai, ya la la lai, la 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 lai, la 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 lai, lai, la 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 lai, la 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 lai, ya la 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 lai, ve'ata et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. לה לה יה לה לה לי, לה 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 לי, לה 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 לי, לה 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 לי, לה 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 לי, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי צווך היום לבבך. לה 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 לי, 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 ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. לי לי לה 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 לי, 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 למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Anger. God of the inner journey, source of strength, I've been assaulted by an unseen foe and comforted by a steadfast friend. Cut down in the name of love, lost in confusion and dismay, blinded by a wave of rage and soothed by gentle breathing. I live between moments of desperate anger and days of boundless joy, between a heart of war and a soul of peace. Anger is a defense. Anger is power. Anger is intensity. Holy One, God whose gifts challenge my understanding, open my eyes to injustice and let my anger become a source of energy channeled toward building and healing. Let anger be a gateway to tikkun olam so I become a force for holiness and love. Blessed are you, source of wisdom, who created anger to illuminate the path to justice. Page 40, our song of freedom and redemption, and maybe also justice.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamo chabayni Madonna, mi chamo chaneda bakudesh, norate hilot posefere, norate hilot posefere. מלכותך ראו בניך, וכהים לפני משה ומרים, זה ידעו ואמרו, זה ידעו ואמרו, אדוני יבוא לעולם ועד, אדוני יבוא לעולם ועד. יאללה
Which slide is up there? I can't see.
I put the one that we're at now.
Okay, which is
Spread.
Spread the shelter of your peace over us.
Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust.
Ashkivei Adonai, Elohim Shalom, Hamidei Shomreinu,
We covered it all. Page 44.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בין היא ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים, את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, יעשו את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Shame. God of my heart, source of my spirit, I've been swallowed by a dirge and elevated by songs of celebration. I've judged myself harshly and given myself grace. I've climbed to see the glorious sunset and have laid low, shivering against a pounding storm. I live between moments of joyous surrender and times of lonely isolation, between calm and storm, between shame and wonder. Shame is a mirror. Shame is a doorway. Shame is a guide. Holy One, God of mysteries beyond my understanding, help me to see my shames as teachers and guides, as reminders of my sacred humanity, leading me to a vision of my best self. Let shame be the gateway to truth so that I may release it without fear, in awe and righteousness. Blessed are you, Redeemer of the lost, who created shame so that we might discover the path to wisdom. We rise as we are able for the Amidah, which begins on page 46.
ופי תהילתך, ופי תהילתך. ופי תהילתך, תהילתך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated as we pull that thread of gratitude that I started us off on in the very beginning of our service. And on page 58, we'll just need the first three words, Modim Anachnu Lach. We are grateful to you. You with a capital Y, the source of all our blessings, and let us share as much gratitude as possible tonight. We need it. So what are we thankful for this Shabbat, Alana? Alana's grateful that it's not snowing, and I'm right there with you. I imagine the folks in the front row are also very glad of that. All right, other blessings. Neil. Thank God, no victims were harmed physically last week in Colleyville, Texas. Let's pause there to say thank you.
מודים אנחנו לך, מודים אנחנו לך.
Other blessings, more gratitude. Yeah, and we have anything coming in on Zoom? No gratitude on Zoom?
Oh, it's one,
Oh, man. Okay. Grateful to have her son home and recovering good. Grateful for another Shabbat. Time is precious.
Chat.
Sorry, Zoom services. Oh, Garwitz. They are among our biggest Zoom fans. All right, we'll pause to say thank you.
מודים אנחנו לך, מודים אנחנו לך.
I'm grateful it didn't snow the other day and got school canceled. Grateful for that. Grateful to be celebrating a new Jewish adult in our community. And grateful for everyone who is with us tonight, both virtually and at Beth Chaim. One last thank you.
מודים אנחנו לך, מודים אנחנו לך.
And we continue on page 60 with our prayer for peace. The one thing we can ask of God on this Shabbat, and you better believe after last Shabbat, we are asking for lots of shalom, peace, wholeness, and healing.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשיא לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשיא לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון, לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון, לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשיא לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשיא לעולם. בטוב עיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשיא לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשיא לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשיא לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשיא לעולם. נשיא לעולם. נשיא לעולם.
We take a few moments for silent prayer to meditate on the words in our prayer books, to offer up the prayers for our own hearts, or simply to sit in silence this Shabbat.
רצון עם רפי בהגיון Adonai, Tzuri v'goali.
Our thoughts now turn to all those in our lives in need of healing. Healing of the body, healing of the mind, healing of the heart, and healing of the soul. We have the names of many loved ones in need of healing up on the screen. For friends on Zoom, I invite you to type names in the chat box, and I'll ask if anyone in the sanctuary has names they'd like to add as well. For all those and many more, including all those suffering from COVID, our frontline workers who are in need of healing, body, heart, mind, and soul, many of them, and Congregation Beth Israel in Colleyville, Texas. We turn to Misha Berach, invoking the names of our ancestors, asking God to heal our loved ones and us, just as God healed those who came before us.
Refainu Adonai v'nerachem, Oshinu v'nivasheach, et karov lechulkoram, akarov l'reach yishor. We pray for healing of the body. We pray for healing of the soul, for strength of flesh and mind and spirit. We pray to once again be whole. Eona refana. Oh, please heal us now. Refuat ha'nefesh, refuat ha'guf, refuat shlema. Eona refana. Oh, please heal us now. Refuat ha'nefesh, refuat ha'guf, refuat shlema. Heal us now. Heal us now. Hoshia et amecha, nachalatecha, ureich v'nasem al ha'olam. Misheberach avoteinu, misheberach imoteinu, ana Adonai Hoshiana. We pray for healing of the body. We pray for healing of the soul, for strength of flesh and mind and spirit. We pray to once again be whole. Eona refana. Oh, please heal us now. Refuat ha'nefesh, refuat ha'guf, refuat shlema. Eona refana. Oh, please heal us now. Refuat ha'nefesh, refuat ha'guf, refuat shlema. Heal us now. Heal us now. Heal us now.
Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav was a Hasidic giant at the turn of the 19th century. One of his well-known teachings is also a popular song at Jewish summer camps and among youth groups. Kol haolam kulo, gesher tsar meod, v'ha'ikar lo lefached klal. Kol haolam kula. Is that familiar? Gesher tzar. Okay. We've sung that together before. The whole world is a very narrow bridge, and the most important thing is not to be afraid. While I have loved singing and dancing to these words in the past, I am struggling with their meaning this week. Last Shabbat, a Reform rabbi just like me, with whom I share many friends and colleagues, was held hostage at gunpoint for 11 hours in the sanctuary of his synagogue. In the sanctuary, where all who enter are supposed to feel safe and protected, while leading Shabbat services, just as I'm doing now. Since I heard that news, I've been afraid. I've wondered what I would do if, God forbid, I ever found myself in the same position. I've stayed up late into the night thinking about how to secure Beth Chaim better. I've reached out to friends and colleagues who are also afraid. Does this make us any less faithful than the psalmist who said, "When I am afraid, I will trust in you. In God, whose word I praise, in God I trust. I will not be afraid." Today, I don't have the psalmist's confidence. I know that fear serves an important biological function to protect us from perceived threats. We need fear to alert us of possible danger, to pump our body with life-saving hormones like adrenaline, and prepare us for a flight or fight response. I know that fear is normal and natural, so I'm wrestling with Jewish texts that minimize fear in general, and the fear that I and many Jews around the country are feeling right now. As I combed the internet for guidance and support this week, I came across a beautiful opinion piece in the New York Times by Amanda Gorman. In this personal and moving essay, Gorman shares why she almost didn't read her poem at President Biden's inauguration. She was the inaugural poet at the inauguration. She was absolutely terrified. At the time, she could not yet be vaccinated, and only weeks before the inauguration, an insurrection took place at the very spot. As a young Black woman, she was afraid for her life. But hear her powerful words of reflection on her ultimate decision to show up and read her poem, "The Hill We Climb," to our nation. I'm a firm believer that often terror is trying to tell us of a force far greater than despair. In this way, I look at fear not as cowardice, but as a call forward, a summons to fight for what we hold dear. And now more than ever, we have every right to be affected, afflicted, affronted. If you're alive, you're afraid. If you're not afraid, then you're not paying attention. The only thing we have to fear is having no fear itself, having no feeling on behalf of whom and what we've lost, whom and what we love. And Gorman goes on to teach a very Jewish lesson about human beings' ability to grow and change. But though our fears 2 years ago may be the same now, we are not. If nothing else, this must be known. Even as we've grieved, we've grown. Even fatigued, we've found that this hill we climb is one we must mount together. We are battered, but bolder, worn, but wiser. I'm not telling you to not be tired or afraid. If anything, the very fact that we're weary means we are, by definition, changed. We are brave enough to listen to and learn from our fear. This time will be different because this time we'll be different. We already are. This is the meaning behind the Jewish calendar, especially our detailed rituals at the beginning of the year. This is why we read the same Torah portions year in and year out. The words we say and study may not change, but we do. We learn new ideas, we try new things, we acquire new tools to grapple with our fear. Gorman's concluding words give me more comfort this Shabbat than Rabbi Nachman's. And yes, I am still terrified every day. Yet fear can be love, trying its best in the dark. So do not fear your fear. Own it. Free it. This isn't a liberation that I or anyone can give you. It's a power you must look for, learn, love, lead, and locate for yourself. Why? The truth is, hope isn't a promise we give. It's a promise we live. Like Amanda Gorman, I am afraid. I am afraid for myself, for my family, for Congregation Beth Chaim, and for the Jewish people. But that is because I love each and every one of these. I am afraid and hopeful at the same time, because I know that we have been through many trials and tribulations, yet still we are here to tell our story. Dr. Deborah Lipstadt of Emory University also wrote an opinion piece in the New York Times this week. Her essay is titled, "For Jews, Going to Services is an Act of Courage." And I could not agree more. Tonight, I see the faces of those who showed up despite our fear, or maybe even because of our fear. In the words of Dr. Lipstadt, we are shaken, we are not okay, but we will bounce back. We are resilient because we cannot afford not to be. That resiliency is part of the Jewish DNA. Without it, we would have disappeared centuries ago. We refuse to go away. But we are exhausted.
Domestic violence call.
So in our fear and our exhaustion, let us turn to one another. Just as we gathered earlier this week as a local Jewish community, we gather tonight for prayers of peace and strength and healing. We lift up our voices together in song and supplication. We share our fear with one another to remember that we are not alone, and therefore our burden is lessened. I want to close my Devar Torah with the words of one more poet, the same poet we've been listening to all night, the fourth and final of the series by Alden Solovoy, whose prayers are very flexible as he responds in real time to what's going on in our world. This final prayer of his is called Fear, and I offer to all those who, like me, may find themselves afraid. God of veiled mystery, God of hidden destinations, I've walked through jet black nights waiting for the hint of dawn. I've climbed the silent trail hoping to discover another wandering soul. I've risen at daybreak to conquer fierce winds and shifting snows. I live between moments of power and moments of despair, between victory and defeat, between crushing losses and uncertain futures. Fear is a memory. Fear is a warning. Fear offers a choice. Holy One, God who placed challenges and triumphs in the path of the righteous and at the feet of our ancestors, help me to see my fear as a tool, as a source, and as a friend. Let fear be my calling to bravery, an invitation to vitality and strength. Blessed are you, God of trials and victories, who created fear as the pathway to power. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will. We turn to Aleinu on page 282 in our prayer books as I ask all who are able to please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שבונות השמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב עיקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated as we turn to page 288. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 294. If I call out your loved one's name, I ask you to please rise. Several whose families are in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning. Remember Eleanor Resnick Tolstik, mother of Doug Resnick. Kimberly Bronsky, daughter of Terry and Mark Steinberg, niece of Kent and Barbara Hochberg. Suzanne Bright, mother of Bill Bright. Norma Nettie Elkonen, mother of Elise Olgan. And remember the following yard sites, the anniversary of the passing of these loved ones. Barry Adler, Claire Bauer, Morris H. Blum, Paula Brandt, Rhoda Raby, Sadie Cashman, Lawrence Rosenblum, Annabelle Cooper, Norman Sirota, Sally Cohn, Irving Green, Sarah Schuster, Lillian Klein, Nellie Toll, Louis Henkin, Beatrice Goldberg, Sylvia Hollander, Gussie Horowitz, Elaine Whale, Miriam Blatt, Lee Litwin, Sylvia Martin, Beverly Platten, Irene Rubin, Albert Schraub, Francis Siegel, Joan Taxler, Rebecca Taxler, Dora Weinberg, David Mirsky, Ross Allen Kelly, Hyman Kleonsky, Jerry Price, Evan Rafkin, Max Grunbaum, Jack Tuval, Beverly Lieberman, Marilyn Julius, Marion Bressler, Isidore Brodsky, and Helen Schreiber. We ask all who are able to please rise with their mourners as we recite together on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutai, v'chayechon uv'yomechon u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha. May the memory of our loved ones always be a blessing. Please be seated as we have a few announcements.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to Rabbi Blum and Cantor Binder for another very lovely service. We hope all of you here and to those of you on Zoom found this meaningful and uplifting. Thank you to Ann Berman-Waldorf and Adria Sherman for your assistance as our tech experts tonight. I am Rhonda Wydra, your temple president. Norm and I are happy to answer any questions you may have or listen to feedback for the synagogue. We will be hanging out for a few minutes after the Shabbat services in case you want to speak to us. It is another very busy weekend at Beth Chaim. Torah study will meet tomorrow morning on Zoom only at 8:45. Then at 10:30. You guys know what happens at 10:30? Landon Lewis will be called to the Torah as a bar mitzvah. Mazel tov to the family. Have fun tomorrow. Religious schools back in session on Sunday at 9 a.m., followed by Zoom school at noon. Please note bagels and blocks will be Zoom only this week. Our congregational board meets this Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Both Bikti and the Sisterhood and Tikkun Olam Craftwork Havara will meet in person at 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. Each of you can help us ensure the safety and security of our community. There is a Be Aware security training for congregants online. It is this Thursday at 1 p.m. Please log in if you can. Watch for the Monday email from the synagogue for details and the registration link. We are a very active, inclusive, and diverse congregation. Check out our website, bethchaim.org, to see a listing of all of our many classes, meetings, and activities throughout the week. Shabbat Shalom. Stay warm, stay safe, and have fun tomorrow, this crew in the front.
Thanks, Rhonda. We're going to end with a song that tells us what we need to do, the work that still needs to be done in this world, the work that we've been doing together tonight, for which I'm very grateful.
Olam chesed yivane, yalalai, lalai, lalai, lalai. 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 I will build this world from love, yalalai, lalai, lalai, lalai. And you must build this world from love, yalalai, lalai, lalai, lalai. If we build this world from love, yalalai, lalai, lalai, lalai. God will build this world from love, yalalai, lalai, lalai, lalai. Olam chesed yivane, 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 yalalai, lalai, lalai, lalai.
We close out with words of protection and peace.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless us and protect us.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka.
May God's light shine upon us, and may God be gracious to us.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May we always feel that God's presence is near, and may we be blessed with the greatest gift of all, the gift of peace.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.